Hey, Haley.
Hi, Mom.
You have to say hi, Ricky, like Mo does, because Mo's not. The doctor is in, and the doctor is in early. We're doing 2 episodes today. This one is about Galentine's Day. So this is kind of our mashup with Pink Table Talk. So while Haley is here, Dr. Mo is still in the OR. Hopefully she'll join us if her patient is doing okay in a little bit. But if not, we'll see her on the next episode. And then we're going to do a second episode about a love story. So this is your show. This is your guys. She's a great guest. So this is our Pink Table Talk Doctors in mashup show for Galentine's Day. So let's go, Haley. What you got?
Yeah, so LMG is like doing great things. We really wanted to bring Galentine's into the forefront as a space to really, I think a lot of women indulge in self-care on this day. They indulge in that friendship and that camaraderie. And what better friends do we have than ones that live in our bodies? We have our girls. And so we wanted to make Galentine's a huge thing this year. So we had Instagram lives. I did it way too many lives this week. Um, we had a bunch of gals in my house on Sunday helping me stuff bags. Thank you to Slow and all my other friends that were able to come and do that. As well as a skating party this Friday. If you are in the DC area, definitely come and hang out with us. But kind of just want to give us a chance to introduce ourselves and then get into some fun Galentine's Day items that I thought about, and then also talk about Black breast health, because that is really the core of this conversation. So, Sunita, I'd love to hear about who you are, and I'm so excited to have you here because honestly, I was just doing like a quick research of breast cancer, and it's so important for you to be here and you to work for where you work because Susan G. Komen is one of the names that first comes up still. And it's so important that you are here to represent. So who are you and tell us all about who you are?
First of all, thank you for having me. I feel so special to be a part of this conversation, especially on Valentine's Day, which is one of my favorite days. I love the color pink. So I'm super excited. So I am Sunita Harris. I am the multicultural marketing manager at Susan G. Komen, and I've been in this role for almost 2 years. Prior to that, I was actually diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer at the age of 37. And since then, I have really been very, very intentional about being an advocate, right? Because being the fact that Black women, the statistics for them in terms of survivorship is very, as compared to white women, is very tragic, right? I felt like it was
Tragic
my,
is the right word. Tragic is the right. It's tragic. It's tragic.
yeah, it's tragic, it's unacceptable, right? And so, with that said, I felt like it was my job and my duty to advocate, but not only that, but make sure that we're reaching women who look like me, right? Also, young women is important. I was diagnosed at a young age, so that is, even a greater cause, right? And so I'm so excited today to come onto the show and hopefully we can have a great conversation speaking on breast health awareness, especially to those young women out there.
So break it down a little bit for our audience, okay? Because we're now getting some people earlier that may not normally watch us. So first, let's start with Komen, all right? Because people may not know what it is. And I had the pleasure of meeting Nancy Brinker about a year ago, and she is a girl crush all the way. I love her so much, but you can see the force she is, and basically putting breast cancer advocacy on the map. If she didn't do what she did for her sister, none of this work would be happening. And she is an amazing, brilliant mind, incredible, just mastermind, visionary woman to be able to create everything in advocacy for breast cancer, really for all cancers, to come from her because she laid the map, she laid the groundwork for all the work that we do. And even what she's doing now is pretty amazing. I don't know what she's doing now, but she basically is building clinics for women of color in Florida, all over Florida, where they can't get care. And so she continues to do this work. And I guess she's in her early 80s. I don't want to tell a woman's age, but I think that just has to be the playing field for who you work for and what founded it, I think, too. I think also triple negative breast cancer, we talk about it a lot, but some people don't know what it is. And that's what I had also. But basically, there's several subtypes of breast cancer. Our breast cancer is the worst one. It has the highest mortality rate. It has the least treatment options. It affects Black women at 3 times the rate of white women, and 40% of the patients are under the age of 40. And there's more bad stats about it, but it's a horrible disease. But basically, it's basically kind of, if you have a breast cancer cell, there's a portal into the cell we could pour medicine into. There's 3 different medicines you can pour into, portals you can pour into. I'm totally oversimplifying this, but we don't have any of those portals on our cancer cells. And so
Even Dr. Mo kind of describes it as like toll booths on a highway, right? And like, if you have other kinds of breast cancer, the ones that are related more to the ones that are hormonal, you have toll booths on your highway. So you have entrance points to get the medicine in. When triple negative, you have no toll booths, that you're just kind of shooting from the hip there. And so there's just no known ways yet to actually attack these cells, which is why it's the only drug, the only substance does not have a drug to prevent recurrence, right? Which is why it comes back for so many of these women.
why it's special. That's why we're special, because it is the only breast cancer without a drug to prevent recurrence. And mine came back in a year. I hope to God yours never comes back. You know, I took experimental drugs to stay alive. We now have 2 drugs that are in our favor, but it's still very, very nasty. So
Yeah.
one other thing you said that I was going to unpack, but keep going.
Yeah. So Susan G. Komen has been around, to your point, for a long time, over 40 years. And so just to tell you a little bit about my story, I was actually working on the Komen account at a purpose-driven agency when I was diagnosed. And so they had a dedicated program to the Black community. And at the time, you know, it was it didn't have a name, right? And so as I joined Komen, they actually they ended up calling this initiative Stand for Her, right? Which is a health equity revolution. So this initiative is dedicated to the Black community because we see all the stats, right? Black women are 40% more likely to die than white women. And we know that in terms of Black women, they're diagnosed younger, at later stages, with more aggressive types like triple negative breast cancer. Right. And so with this initiative, it's important for us to reach the Black community, right? Because in terms of Komen's commitment, we're committed to collaborating with the Black community, different policymakers, researchers, and any individual who wants to create a world without inequities, right? And so that's why we work with organizations like Touch, right? We also want to make sure that everyone gets the chance to survive breast cancer, right? And live the most healthiest lives that they can, no matter what their cultural background is or their demographic background. That's just like the number one thing. And so another thing that you talked about was triple negative breast cancer. And so when I was originally diagnosed, I was misdiagnosed. I was diagnosed with metaplastic breast cancer, which is even worse, more aggressive than triple negative. And so I learned that I believe it's like only just 1% of breast cancers that get diagnosed with that. But later on, I went and advocated for myself to get a second opinion, and I found out that I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer. And so the treatment that I received was great treatment. And to your point, there aren't a lot of options. But thankfully, while I was in treatment, there was a new drug offered to me, immunotherapy. And this was in 2021. And so you can tell how recently that this drug was introduced. And so I was able to take immunotherapy. And with that said, I've spoken on several panels and different, groups and things like that, only to learn that a lot of Black women didn't even know that this was offered at the time. And so because of me speaking up and sharing what I knew, they were able to, seek out their information, talk to their oncologist, and be a part of clinical trials that offered immunotherapy. So, there aren't a lot of options, but every day, I'm hopeful that science and research will offer those opportunities to us to have more options, especially for triple negative breast cancer.
Yeah, we hope so. I know Keytruda, we still today, Keytruda got approved, I guess in like July of 2021, right? But we have so many blesties who don't know about it still. And so many doctors, if you think about it, 80% of patients go to community hospitals. And so they may not have and probably don't have a breast oncologist or a breast surgical oncologist. They have one oncologist or, does all the cancers. And you know, it's, they may not hear of it. Okay, Haley, I spelled Galentine's Day wrong. I'll fix it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's okay. I just wanted to throw that out there. But,
I asked
know.
you.
I know, and I said it was spelled like Valentine's Day, like with the G, but it's all good. I, I noticed it, Sunita, because I was putting.
I can change it.
No worries. People get the point. We're talking about our gals, talking about our girls. That's what we're here to do.
Let's please people.
But yeah, so and I noticed because I was actually putting your comment in the chat, so everyone has access to the Komen information, the website, and people can go and call that number also if you want more information. So thank you, and we'll dive back into, I know, the amazing work you guys are doing. I know personally I've been to 8 Susan G. Komen walks during my in my lifetime. My mom's in 11. I selfishly only do San Diego because it's so nice, but an
3 mile 3-day.
Yes, yes. And so it was definitely the help of me getting started as an advocate, right? And figuring out like what that would look like. I think it'd be so different to go back now after I know more and be able to share more with women as I walk. But yeah, it was definitely the entrance into how I became an advocate for breast cancer. And that kind of leads me to Sloan, because I started to get all my friends invested too. So Sloan, tell us who you are and how you've dove into your breast health.
Sure. Hi, I'm Sloan Cargill. I am professionally director of annual giving at Howard University. And I am a member of yes. So Touch definitely supports our HBCU interns. That's who we were packing bags with on Sunday. It's always great to see our Howard students getting involved. On the personal side, I am a member of the Young Women Advisory Board with Touch, which has been so important to me because of the last half of my life, I've known Ricky and Haley and would learn about their story and have shared with them also my own family's history with breast cancer and having lost that on a month after I passed. And so just talking this through and after I was born, not after I passed. And as we've talked more and I've learned more about Touch and the work that's happening, I really want to be a part of it because I think it's so important that we have these conversations. In particular, we have these conversations on days like today, Galentine's Day, with our girls. Something Haley knows about me is I have a really core group of friends. There's 6 of us. And last year, we all turned 30. And in that, and that really did also prompt me wanting to get more deeply involved because with us all turning 30, all Black women, and all of us have had our own touches with breast cancer, from our mothers to our grandmothers, aunts. It's been important that as we are in this stage, as we are in our 30s, that we know the information so we can advocate for ourselves, so we can learn. And if it touches us, and we know statistically in a group of 6 that statistically we are likely that it will touch us. So knowing where to go, knowing about different trials in medicine, and being able to be very diligent about loving our girls and doing all those things that sometimes you don't think about it until it's happening to you. But what can we do if we start early? So that's been my entry point in. And as we are getting ready for our Galentine's Day weekend, all 6 of my girls are coming this weekend. So I'm really excited to talk to them about all of the stuff that we're going to talk about today.
That's great. We're so glad you're here and part of our family, Sloan, and I love your mama. But and I'm so glad that we got you guys talking about this stuff, and we all need to talk more about it, and actually somebody had an ad today that said something about the best Valentine gift of love is get a checkup.
Yes.
It wasn't specifically about breast cancer. I have to go back and look. So that's not a good ad because I can't remember the brand, but the best gift you can give somebody is take them to get checked, take them to get a cancer
And
screen.
And Mom, I actually didn't tell you about this yet, so I'm gonna do this live. Um, uh, on the thought of getting checked, right? Somebody gave me the advice of keeping your appointments, especially for those moms, right? Who are like, or just like, I'm in my career. I just started work. I don't think I could leave. I know as a teacher, it was a lot for me to consider like leaving my students to just go to the doctor. Like that was so I just didn't really feel comfortable doing, especially at the beginning of my career. But as moms, you know, you're making appointments for everybody else but yourself. But like, even if you do have some, you'll like push it back or move something. So like keep your appointments. And so today I made an appointment with a new PCP because my old PCP that I like finally got it, like started being active at my like healthcare, went to the doctor. And so she retired in October. And so I was like, you know, this week I was like, you got to get back on it. Like, make sure you book your appointments and find a new PCP. Found a new one, you know, generally like enjoyed her. I think that I told her I was looking for like a long relationship. I didn't want like to just come and get my birth control and like keep it moving. Like I wanted to like her to know me. And
Right.
so then she told me that she's also maybe considering retiring in the year. And I was like, no, like I know. So I
A
was
lot
like,
of doctors
okay,
are retiring after COVID. They don't want to
that's
practice anymore.
exactly. And so
They know
I'm
what's happened to
finding
me
Yeah,
too.
they're tired. Yeah,
yeah,
they're
I'm
tired.
finding out that, and I'm also finding out that like, um, I'm also finding out that you want doctors to look like you, not just because it's gonna feel better when you go, not just because it's more comfortable, but also because you expect that person to also be like keeping up their knowledge about their own bodies themselves, right? And so they're like going to be reading articles about themselves. They're going to be like engaging in that work. And so and not that I didn't enjoy her. And so, but I did find some of her information with regards to breast cancer, given what I know now, to be a little outdated and obsolete. And so it was just interesting because it was like in my effort to find a doctor that I think looked like me, it became apparent to me today that it wasn't just because of my comfort level with her because she was Black. It was like I also expected her to keep up with things. And I don't know if she was doing that, given, again, she's getting ready for retirement year. You know what I mean? That's her, like, she's on her own journey. And so it just made me think of like, do I now look for someone younger? Do I now like, how do I begin this process to make sure I'm keeping up with my breast health? And like, she even went in to explain to me the reason why I don't need a mammogram. Or why, I'll rephrase, why mammography doesn't work on young women due to our dense breast.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yes, let's talk about 3D mammography. I want 3D for sure. And she was like, I'm going to put you in here, but I don't know if you're going to qualify because of your age
Right.
and because you have no genes. And so it's just like, even though I went through my whole family, her story, my great aunt, my grandmother, my mother, it was still like, I'm gonna try, but good luck. And in this way, that's like, no, like that's not, it should be like, I have a, something's wrong with my body. I want a doctor to fix it. Please help me. You know, it just felt backwards in a way that I don't even think that she understood. But so anyways, still on that journey to like figure that out. But so I know you just did this. So like,
Yeah. I have just been going through this, and one of the things, and like we're in the DC area, and like we're pretty fortunate. And like you all are doing great work with the HBCU internships, and I like bring that up because as I've been picking out my doctors, I realized that not only do I look for a doctor that looks like me, has that familiarity. Being in DC, we're surrounded by quite a few HBCUs, and so I've also been looking for graduates of these HBCUs. And the reason I think that it matters is when I put on my daytime hat of being a fundraiser and having to talk about all the great academic things that are happening at Howard, one of the things that I always point out is the fact that like our researchers are doing research on things as it relates to, they're researching a lot of things, but they're researching the health impacts in the Black community. They're researching like these things that are, and they talk about how like the ways they get to it is part of the fact that there are certain blinders that aren't there. and like what does unconscious bias look like in the research space. And I've noticed that when I look for doctors that maybe they're Howard alums or Morgan or Bowie, if you're in Atlanta, you might have a lot of Morehouse, Spelman, folks in there, and then looking to see what their advocacy areas are, what are their research areas, because that could be helpful in making sure that you might get a prescriber that is keeping up on the research, or they are doing teaching in practice, so they can tell you about different trials. But in terms of finding a new doctor, I am looking as well because my referral was to someone who is retiring. But we'll see how that goes. You might have to share.
Yeah.
I like to
we'll-
add to that too. I recently switched doctors as well. And so when you are in treatment, you're constantly going to see your oncologist. So you like lose sight of your normal
Right.
medical team, right? So once I finished treatment, I was like, I got to find my team, right? And so those appointments are booked out so far in advance. So I like just stuck with the people that I had before or in that same facility and I like learned that basically like you have to date. It's like going on dates, right?
Yeah.
Like looking for your doctor that you like. And so even for the gynecologist appointment that I went on, I learned that for pap smears that they don't even offer it like every year anymore. So it's every 3 years. And so based on my history, I wanted to make sure that I was getting a pap smear every year. And the doctor that I went to didn't give me one. And so I had to break up with them. So I decided to seek out, other gynecologists. And I did find one who looked like me in New York City. And I'm glad that I was able to do that because she did give me a pap smear this year. So it's important to make sure that we're advocating for ourselves, we're speaking up, because sometimes we go with what the doctors say. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but if something doesn't feel right, I think it's always best to seek out that information for yourself and advocate.
I know, I think there's this sort of blind trust sometimes that doctors went to school for a long time, they should know everything. Or there's like a blatant mistrust. Well, we don't trust those people anyway, and that's what Black men do. But it's hard because even I think they take an oath, they have good intentions, but they may not be that. May not be having a good day. Like they're human people, and so we used to have a blessee who would go to her oncologist and say, I do not want the McDonald's drive-through appointment today. I want the Ruth Chris appointment today. I want the appetizer, the cocktail, the main course, the salad. I want all the things. So don't put your hand on the door until I get all the things. I'm not going to be done with you. And so, and she'd make jokes about it, but that's the kind of care we should get. And I think one of the things that we try to teach women, especially young women, is you go back to that doctor and say, is this how you would treat your daughter? Is this how you would treat your mama, your auntie, your grandma? Is this how you would talk to them? Is this how you would explain this medicine to them or this treatment? And we have to do it because we're never gonna, we're never gonna get the care that we deserve. What I call that golden rule standard of care: treat somebody how you want to be treated. And unfortunately, we have to demand it all the time. And I think as you're looking for doctors, that's the one thing Mo says when she gets a new patient. I've watched her do it. The first thing she says to a new patient is, I'm going to treat you like family. And that just takes all the edge off the whole conversation, right? Before she even talks about cancer, or their surgery or whatever, I'm going to treat you like family. And that's what we all deserve. That's what we all.
It's so important. And I like know that she does that too. That's like not something that she says lightly, like that's and all of her interactions, I think if you know Dr. Mo in this world, like she does that. But I think I want to bring up something that I don't have the answer for, because I do believe strongly in being the CEO of your own health. And this is not where this conversation was going to go, right? I really did not think this,
Right.
but
we should.
And for this campaign, for Love of My Girls, we call it being a girl boss, right? It's like you can fire your doctor. And see, I just learned this morning about that pap smear thing because my doctor was like, well, does that mean you had a pap smear? And I was like, oh, it was like just 2 years ago. And she was like, oh, you still have a year to get done. I was like, no, this is an annual thing. I'm late. And she was like, no, it's every 3 years now, apparently. If you had like 2 regular ones that pass, right? If they've come up as regular. Because I had an abnormal one, a decade ago. And so like based on that, having normal ones after, she told me I could wait now 3 years. I was like, I don't know, but like again, these guidelines, do they make sense for my body? I'm not sure. Does it matter? Don't I deserve these things even if I ask for them?
Right.
Right?
Or
I think
am I an exception to the rule? But you can challenge the rule because we
exactly.
know for breast, we don't have any recommended guidelines that are real. So challenge the rule. Say, here's my history. Does that make a difference? You know what I mean? Like I had a colonoscopy 2 weeks ago, Haley, you know that. I said, well, my dad died at 73 from colon cancer. So shouldn't I get my colonoscopy a little sooner than the average person? And I had to like chase the doctor down the hall to get that answer. And I did. Hold on, wait a minute. Like answer my question. But
I think the hard thing that I ran into this morning as we had this conversation about being the CEO of our own health and advocating for ourselves in these spaces and having the liberty and privilege to even go date doctors in that way.
yeah,
Today's appointment, teledoc, 30 minutes, cost me $100.
yeah,
And so we have to also think about the fact that these interactions might cost somebody their last $100, in which
so you
case
had the money to do that, or you would have
but yeah,
asked me.
exactly. That's a privilege that I had today, right? And it made me, because she was like, you should know your blood pressure, right? And so I was like, it's a virtual. How am I like that's like this is the problem with virtual, right? Like this is it. And then she was like, everyone in your family should frankly have blood pressure machines at home. And I was like, that's right. I think that's actually a good thing to have. Why not? If I'm gonna go take my temperature when I'm sick, I pull up my thermometer. Like I had that at home. Why don't I have these other tools? So it was like, duh, have these things. With that said, if I had to spend my last $100 on this appointment, I went to Amazon to order them, and the best price one was $35. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I'm just thinking at this wider conversation, how to support Black women in this work. It was just like, $100 could mean everything to you. You know what I mean? That could mean everything to you. So
That's
like,
good for your kid.
I don't have the answer, but I think we have to talk about and leave room for the conversation about like it not always being so easy to be your own advocate, right?
Sometimes I think you need to, well, one, when we think of the expense of healthcare, I think that's something we're all like always talking about. Healthcare itself is expensive. These unexpected things are expensive. But then also when we're talking to funders and thinking of my fundraising cap here, our funders often want to support very specific initiatives, support research. And I think that there's probably a case for looking at like that unrestricted support and for organizations to have, emergency, I don't even want to think of it in the way of emergency funds, but your mammogram that you need to take and you're young, you're 32, but something's come up, it's a $400 scan, maybe. That's how much it was for me last year when I did it. And like, fortunately, I was able to put on my card, but if I couldn't have, where are resources there to be able to tap into those things? I think that kind of touchable funding, but also maybe this is an area for our, love our girls to think about how do we educate people about understanding insurance codes and in a way so it's not boring, because if you have different health concerns, you end up learning about it more. Like if you are someone who takes, ADHD medicine, like you're learning about those different codes and how they're filling those things, and you learn it early. But most people don't until they need to. So talking that through might be a really good place for us to.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because we don't know the codes. We don't know. I mean, we have a navigator that we work with who's at Alameda Hospital in California in Oakland. And so her first question to a new patient is, when was your last meal? Where did you sleep last night? Where are your kids? When are you going to be able to eat again? How much money is in your pocket? Do you have a ride home from here today? And before she even can get to talking about breast cancer, she's triaging them for their life and what they have and what they don't have. And so they can't just pick up the phone and call a teledoc or put $400 on their card. They're trying to figure out how they're going to feed their kids or get home or eat today, but they're sick And it's unfortunate that our country just does not accommodate people's needs with regard to health. But it makes us also want to fight harder to help them even know what to ask for, and I think Z, most of her job is educating, and most of our job as advocates is educating women on, yeah, be the CEO of your own health. And we try to help as many people as we can. And that's one of the things we learned from you the last time you were on the show, Sunita, like, that Komen has resources for people who can't afford their care, and that, that you give grants for that. So thank you for that. And we can put that in the chat. But I mean, we get calls every day about, do you provide financial support, or who does, or how can you help me, get to the doctor? And the scary thing is with young women is they may go get the free mammogram and find their way in there. And I'm talking people who are young, over 40 still, because it's the first mammogram, but they get a funky result. And the doctor says, oh, you got to come back tomorrow and get the MRI. Well, how much is the MRI? And they can't pay for it, so they don't come back. 6 months later, they're metastatic. And so not only are they sick, but they're also costing the system more money. Had they had the money to do the diagnostic testing, or the whatever, even the testing to understand what they had, everybody's better off. But it's so hard to make even those rules happen. But that's some of the work that we're doing, with Moonshot, when we're trying to encourage them to do better screening, help with screening guidelines and all those things for young women. But I think our dilemma for young women is just that nobody really cares, that where the system doesn't care that Black women are getting cancer way younger.
And it's not just the screening, right? It's like we can improve access to screening, but are we getting improving access to the things that come after the screening if you need it, right?
Exactly.
And so, I feel like you do have some stuff at Komen that's like you guys can shine light on.
Yeah, no. So me myself, I am a patient, right? And so I know Komen does offer grants for, people who have been diagnosed with breast cancer, also to the metastatic community. So they do offer grants. There are certain income guidelines around that as well. But also, in addition to that, they offer so many different resources through our patient navigation. The breast cancer helpline that you have there, to your point, Ricky, you can call up and they can like walk you and guide you through. And even myself, I felt as if though, I don't reach that income guideline. So what is it out there that can help to assist me? And so by talking to a patient navigator, I was able to get more options, right? Grants in terms of, we talked about Keytruda, right? So I was able to get grants you can get grants through several different ways. You can get it through the hospital, you can get it through the drug company, but they help you.
The pharma companies give all kinds of benefits to patients who can't afford their drugs. You just have to ask for it.
Yeah, and so just learning that some people just don't even think that they qualify. So it's like really making those phone calls, and they will help you find every single solution.
That's good. And that's really helpful. And that's what we try to do too. But you guys have a way bigger resource to do that, Sunita, because you're sick. You don't feel good. And now you're going to be on the phone for the next each hour. I hate when you call the doctor. If this is emergency, call 911. I hate that. I hate AI altogether. I've been trying to make a doctor's appointment for 3 days now with this ENT doc. I can't get through on the phone. So that just to deal with that pressure when you don't feel well, or you're having your mom do it or your sister do it and they got to go to work. And so just to have a resource that they can call is really such a blessing, So oh, good. I'm going to put that resource in the chat too. Is there an 800 number?
Yes, it's 877-GO-KOMEN.
1 second, I lost my word.
I put it in the chat already, Mom.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. All right, cool.
Yeah. But Sloan, you had a thought?
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the power of like having these conversations. And I'm sitting here, I'm like learning and I'm listening, and bringing to the thinking about our gals and how we communicate, and the like why it's so important that just sitting around the table of like at any age of talking through these experiences in sharing information, because I think, it is a very real consideration that, when you do, get diagnosed, the mountain, it may feel like, okay, I have to go research this, I have to go find these resources. And what the blessing can be of talking to the people who are around you, finding sister circles, finding communities where people can share, their experiences, what questions they ask. Or like in this case, Haley, when you find a doctor, I'm going to ask you who that doctor is, because we're in the same area. Those are the things I think is part of that ongoing advocacy of just like sharing information, the importance of just constantly sharing what to make that knowledge gathering, easier.
And the
Yeah.
hope there is too that like, yeah, so and you kind of brought this up earlier, I think we all have, is like, it'd be so great if we knew some of these things before we were affected and had to know, right? It'd be so cool if I, got some more financial literacy in college, like knew these things before I had to operate in those spaces, And so I think that some of these conversations can lead to us knowing things we may not have been exposed to before. And we kind of talked about having, that like we in our women's advisory board talked about having like, that we have in a sorority, like a big and a little, right? So it's just like the power of like having someone of a different generation or different time be able to share information with you as well, because that is going to continue to make us all knowledgeable about things, right? Someone younger can teach you all about AI, and someone older can teach you about like, all the things that they dealt with, all the things. And so I think it's super important to have those conversations and be open to it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. I think, even like, so Amanda, Haley's sister, my older daughter, is about to have a prophylactic mastectomy. And because of our history, her story. And the only way that she would be able to do that is because of all the information that we have. And an average patient walking off the street isn't going to have the benefit of the knowledge that we could share with her. And also, the medical people that we could give her access to. So, I feel very blessed to do this work just so I can make it easier for my children, my daughters, And frankly, you guys have a worse odds because of me, Haley, you and Amanda, than even I had. But it's so funny because Amanda's now sort of starting down this path. I identified that she has some benign cysts. And that's how I started 10 years before I got breast cancer. But she has the benefit of my experience. Say, okay, I'm going to take control of this and be the girl boss of my health and direct my risk, minimize my risk of cancer. But I wish everybody had that. And more of us can if we talk about it. And that's why we spend so much time teaching our young women, go sit down with our little worksheet with both grandmas and fill this out and force these conversations that the grandmas may not want to have. And, we met a family a few months ago where the daughter she was 38, almost like you, Sunita, had stage 3 triple negative. And both her mom and her aunt had triple negative breast cancer in the last 2 years, and they never talked about it to each other until the daughter got sick. So the two sisters didn't know they had it, and the mother and the daughters didn't know they had it. Isn't that crazy? But that's what Black families do. And could they have prevented her from having it? I don't know. But would she have benefited from those conversations? Oh my gosh. Right?
It's hard to both live in the like preventative space, but also not live in the shoulda, coulda, woulda space, right? Because it's like, I'm trying to be preventive here, but I'm also not going to blame like my mom's experience on my, for my higher risk, right? And so it's like, it's just interesting. I am looking at the time. I know we have to end about 5 minutes before the hour because we have another show. We're doing a double feature tonight. But I wanted to first in the space of like talking about things and normalizing things, it's Galentine's Day. So I have a quick couple of would you rather questions that I'm excited to ask.
Do I have to play?
Yes, you will. Yes, I'm done. Don't ever ask me that again. You will always play. Easy one. Flowers or chocolate? Let's just a shout out real quick, guys.
Flowers.
Yeah, flowers.
Chocolate.
Yeah. I think I'd be more invested in like a heart-shaped pizza, but
You would.
yeah. Okay. Expensive gift or vacation. And that could be either you're someone receiving or giving, right?
Vacation.
Vacation.
Is it a blue box? Like how expensive gift is it? Is it a car? Is it like, how do you define expensive?
That's what I think. Like vacation is inherently more expensive than I think even an expensive gift sometimes. So I guess not, maybe not. But like, yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
I'll take the vacation. I'll take the experience and maybe
Yeah.
buy a gift when we're there.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's a great plan. Vacation and a gift once you get there.
Love it. Okay. Are you a listen to love songs or watch a rom-com?
Mm. That's hard, but I think music. You can take music with you in the car and other places, then you could take a movie.
Yeah, I'll do the music.
Yeah.
I will go rom-com.
I recently I'm thinking I just watched that Netflix like one day rom-com. It was great. So I'm like rom-com. But yeah, that was great show.
What's your favorite rom-com?
Oh yeah.
Mine would be The Wedding Date, and The Wedding Date is so good. It's so
The
bad.
wedding date, the wedding date.
The Wedding Date. It is so bad, but it is so good. I think it's Patrick Dempsey's in it.
Oh,
So
yeah. I know.
I'd have to go down a list of like 90s rom-coms and really figure out my
Best
favorite.
man, best man,
I
best
knew
man
this was the
holiday.
best man. I love the best
Best
man.
man holiday. I would say.
I like My Best Friend's Wedding with Julia.
I was gonna go with My Best Friend's Wedding or The Wedding Planner too. But you gotta love Julia Roberts and The Best Friends. Yeah. Oh, hey, we
You
can't hear
also, like you also like don't turn off your TV when like certain ones come on, you know, like some old school classics, you know, you're gonna watch them.
Well, you know what mine is, right? White Christmas.
Classic.
I like
Okay, a couple more. Would you rather get a lot of Valentines or just like one from your crush? Like
I go
imagine
with
a school
crush.
setting.
Nah.
Like, imagine like a school setting and you're like, you either get like your whole class gives them to you or like just that one, you know?
I'm gonna go with the crush.
I'm gonna go with the lot because it'll make the crush jealous. She'll get more stuff. I'm older, okay?
That's a good strategy.
I like no, the strategy.
Mental note.
Right? I can appreciate the strategy there. Okay. Small surprises every hour or one big surprise at the end of the day?
How do you define small or big? Like can the small be a blue box? It's all
You're
relative.
thinking jewelry. Yes.
If the day ended with the G-Wagon, then I'd be fine.
Yeah. I'll be fine with that too.
Yeah, I'll take the end of the day. I'll take the end of the day.
I did start this day at midnight today. I said, whatever happened to grand gestures? So I think we should bring that back. And a G-Wagon is a great grand gesture.
Right? I mean, I've been lucky.
I don't even know what a G-Wagon is.
The Mercedes boxy Jeep looking one. But anyways.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the one that was neighborhood and I was just there. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's also, yeah, I think I've been really lucky to have my partner give me some really major gestures in last like couple of years. So like it's a big deal. And like you think about those things and like I'm very thankful to have someone that was able to do that for me. But it's like, have I done that for them? Am I reciprocating these things? But yeah, so like, I think adding big gestures and some of those just like niceties that we people might see as like old school or taboo, like they don't have to be that, you know, that if that's what you feel good about or makes you feel positive about your friendships and relationships, all of that good stuff, you should keep it going. So before we really get into some of our last conversations back to like Black Breast Health, thank you guys for taking that moment with me to celebrate Galentine's Day and have those little chats. I think it's fun. You can think about now if you want to answer my last question was, which was pick whatever song you'd want to make love to. Like we can put that in the chat later, but
Okay, yeah, because we gotta go now.
okay. So on that note, before we do go, I do want to quickly just show what Love of My Girls is all about on our website. I don't have to show the video today, but I think it's important to just shed light really quickly on who we are and where to find our information. And so we did put the website for Komen in the chat. Here you can see our Love of My Girls website. Again, girls is GURLS. We have our really insightful video here, which kind of just dives into, you know, the Black women under 35, you have breast cancer at twice the rate, die at 3 times the rate. It's very important to figure out, you know, our 3 CTAs, which are 1, to choose Black breast health. Here is why. If you go down to our Unlock My Her Story section, we have our worksheet here, which is really, really fun. Again, dives more than just breast cancer, things that are related to breast cancer and Black families as well. And then information you might need to know about your family when you walk into those doctors' conversations with those doctors that like are new, right? If you're going to new doctors and dating in that process, you want to have this information with you. And then lastly, we have this infographic. Depending on where you are in your breast health journey, you can find information here about knowing how to do a self-breast exam, building it into your routine with an app, things like that would allow that are all here. And then this is my new fun thing. If you want to check your girls need some music to listen to, we have a really fun Spotify playlist that has, you know, some old classics. We have Milkshake, we have Feeling Myself, we have Take Your Time, you know, Mariah Carey, Touch My Body, all the good stuff. So that's just another fun thing that we have here. But any last comments from my 2 women who are here? That I'm so thankful you guys for coming today. And I'm trying to close out of this and I cannot. Oh, here we go.
I'll go.
Yeah, any last comments and thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to, first of all, again, thank you for having me on. And my message to younger Black women is to first and foremost educate yourself on your breast health. Know your normal, know what your breasts look and feel like, know what signs to look for. Also, know your risks. It's important to have those conversations with your family. And I believe the younger generation can lead the charge and really ask those tough questions to their parents, their aunts, etc. Right. And the last thing I'll say is that don't be afraid. You know, I think the number one thing sometimes is that we get afraid, but let's educate ourselves. And the more that you're educated, the more empowered you'll be.
Great.
I think you said it all there. I also want to just echo and say thank you for having us here on the call today. And then just, really echoing the power of talking to the people in your circle. And I'm excited this weekend. I'm going to talk about the wisdom study over brunch on Saturday and show all of my friends the website and just to share it, talk about it. If it feels uncomfortable talking about it, reach out to someone that seems chatty. Me and Haley are chatty people, so reach out to us and we will talk you through how to talk about these things.
Great.
Yeah. And lastly, just keep your appointments and stay in touch with your girls.
Stay in touch with your girls and reach out to us. Pink Table Talk is on the last Sunday of every month, 3:00 Eastern time. And you can talk to Haley. She does all these little funky conversations on Instagram that I don't even know what they are. So check out Love of My Girls Instagram and stay with us at Touch. And we're happy to help you and connect you to these lovely women. And we're so glad you guys came today. So we hope to be relatable, reliable, and real. And we'll do it every week. If you want to come back in about 10 minutes, we're going to have a couple on that has prostate and breast in the same house. We hope you'll watch on our next show on Valentine's Day, and I'll spell Valentine's Day right in the notes.
I believe in you. I believe in you.
All right. Blessings to everyone. Blessings. You know, we changed our word to blessings, blessties. So you are my blessed now, Sunita. So blessed love to you. Talk soon. Bye. Thanks, guys. Love you.
Bye.
How'd you do that heart thing?